Hello, good morning from Menlo Park, California, from Instagram headquarters. We're going to get started with today's webinar, which is about advanced performance marketing on Instagram. And of course, it's part of the Facebook and Instagram webinar series. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Gabe Riley, and I'm on the product marketing communications team at Instagram. And I'm joined today by Megan Bristol and Badi Badkube from our market operations team. Megan is responsible for product marketing of Instagram's direct response ad solution, and Badi looks after Instagram's ad interfaces and API, as well as targeting and delivery. Together, Megan and I are going to take you through our content today, and then Badi is going to join us to help answer your questions. After going through today's webinar, we hope you're going to walk away with some clear strategies for getting the most out of performance marketing on Instagram. In particular, our goal is to arm you with specific best practices around targeting, bidding, maximizing delivery, creative, and cross-device reporting. Those topics are drawn from your questions and your feedback on previous Instagram webinars. In fact, we've been working behind the scenes based on those questions to come back with the answers that you guys are looking for, and we hope you'll get value out of our content today. To that point, this webinar is intended for people who are already familiar with the basics of direct response on Instagram. In particular, this session is designed as a follow-up to March's webinar, which was called Performance Marketing on Instagram. If you haven't watched that webinar, or if you're not familiar with the basics of direct response on Instagram, we recommend you check out that webinar first, since we won't be covering those kinds of basics today. To that point, all past Facebook and Instagram webinars are available anytime on demand at Blueprint, which is Facebook's e-learning platform. You can visit Blueprint at facebook.com/blueprint. There, you will find our Introduction to Performance Marketing webinar, along with many others under the webinar section. And today's session will be available on demand on Blueprint within about 48 hours. Okay, let's take a look at the topics we're going to cover today. We'll start with a short recap of Instagram's performance marketing solution to make sure we all have a common understanding of what's available. Then we're going to dive into learnings and recommendations around 4 areas in particular. We'll start with building for mobile. Instagram has always been a mobile platform, and that comes with a number of important implications for thinking about your campaigns. We'll cover tips for campaign setup and reporting that are designed to help you maximize the efficiency of your campaigns and ensure accurate attribution. Next, we'll look at bidding for your objective. We'll cover bidding strategies for getting the most efficiency and the most delivery out of your Instagram campaigns. We'll then cover reaching the right people. Specifically, we're going to provide guidance on targeting with a focus on how to maximize delivery and the number of outcomes you generate on Instagram. Finally, we'll take on creative. In particular, we'll look at creative best practices and focus on some tips that can help you optimize your ads for maximum delivery and performance on Instagram. That should take about 30 minutes, and after that, we're going to open up for question and answer. A note about question and answer. As questions come to mind throughout the webinar, please feel free to enter them in the questions window within your webinar control panel. We're going to compile your top questions throughout today's session, and we'll cover them at the end. In order to organize and address the most frequently asked topics, we won't take any new questions once we start Q&A. So please, as they come to mind, submit your questions. We've also included a few handouts that accompany today's content. You can see a summary of those handouts here. And you'll find them within the handout menu in your webinar control panel. These documents cover a number of today's topics in more detail. Throughout the webinar, we're going to let you know if there's a particular topic addressed in a handout so you know that you can find it there. And you can download these documents at any point during our session today. As you exit the webinar, we've got a very brief survey we'd love for you to fill out. It's going to help us continue to improve these sessions, and these things really are valuable. In fact, today's session was drawn from a lot of the feedback we've gotten from you folks on past webinars. Finally, we'll follow up with a video recording of today's content within the next 2 days in case you'd like to review again. All right, let's get started.
Today, Instagram ads help businesses of all sizes drive the results they care about. In fact, there are over 200,000 advertisers worldwide on Instagram, and they're driving a wide variety of marketing objectives, from awareness to conversion and even loyalty. During this session, we'll focus on best practices for website clicks and conversions, as well as mobile app installs and mobile app engagement, which includes deep linking into your mobile app. And here's what performance marketing on Instagram looks like. In particular, we support a growing variety of bold mobile ad formats. While a square image will always remain iconic to Instagram, we now support landscape photos and videos. We've increased our video length from 30 to 60 seconds, and later this month we'll expand our carousel ad format to support video. Similarly, we'll soon bring dynamic product ads to Instagram, which will allow you to show relevant products to people who have visited your website or mobile app. If you'd like more information on Instagram ads, including advertiser case studies relevant to your business, we encourage you to visit business.instagram.com.
All right, so let's jump into our learnings and recommendations. In particular, we often get the question, how can I get the most performance out of my Instagram campaigns? And since we've launched our direct response solution back in September, we've actually learned a great deal together with you, our advertisers. If you attended our last webinar on performance marketing on Instagram, you may recognize some of the topics we're going to cover here. An important note about that. We've spent the last few months listening to your feedback, as well as looking at the characteristics of successful campaigns on Instagram. And today we're going to share new and more detailed recommendations based on what you've asked for and based on what we've uncovered through our learnings. Before we get to those, just a quick reminder about question and answer. Please continue to submit any questions as they come to mind, rather than holding them back till the end of the webinar. By submitting them over the course of today's webinar, we're going to have time to organize your questions before we move into the Q&A session, and we'll ensure we're able to cover the most requested topics. Of course, big thanks to the many of you who've already been submitting those questions. Please keep them coming.
Let's get into our first area of best practice, building for mobile. Instagram is and always has been mobile only. And being mobile-only platform comes with a number of really important implications for campaign setup, bidding, and reporting. Although Instagram is a leader in mobile reach and time spent, we all know consumers today shop across a variety of devices. They may learn about a product on one device, research it on another, and ultimately transact elsewhere. And when we look at reporting across both Facebook and Instagram campaigns, we've seen that borne out. In particular, we've seen firsthand that people shop and ultimately convert across multiple devices. That brings us to our first learning. Implementing the Facebook pixel is especially critical if you're trying to drive actions on your website. That's because the Facebook pixel will give you visibility into how your target audience responds to your Instagram ads across the devices they use to shop and convert. If you're a Facebook advertiser, you've probably already heard of the pixel as a best practice. However, it's particularly critical for Instagram for two reasons. First, Instagram ads are mobile only, so visibility into conversions on other devices is critical. Second, implementing the pixel is foundational to most best practices we'll share today. Beyond reporting, it's essential to optimal bidding and delivery on Instagram. For advertisers with mobile app objectives like installs, engagement, or deep linking, the Facebook or Mobile Measurement Partner SDKs are required and will give you access to optimal bidding, delivery, and reporting. For more information on how to implement the Facebook pixel, visit facebook.com/business/help. We've also included more information in the handouts for this webinar. And for SDK how-tos, visit thedevelopers.facebook.com. Regardless of your buying objective, implementing the Facebook pixel or SDK will give you insight into how people respond to your ad over time and across devices. We call this cross-device reporting. Cross-device reports are available through Ads Manager as well through Power Editor, shown here, and partners. They can provide you with a summary of the total number of actions your ads drove over time and across devices. For instance, here you can see an Instagram campaign that delivered on mobile, but ultimately drove conversions across a number of devices. To enable cross-device reports, you'll need to implement the Facebook pixel or SDK. We've included more information on how to set up and access cross-device reports in the handouts for this webinar.
All right, let's cover our second area, which is bidding. And we've got a lot of questions from you guys in past webinars about bidding in particular, and we're really glad you're asking about this. Bidding is also key, and it goes hand in hand with the Facebook Pixel, as Megan mentioned. And there are two reasons bidding is so important on Instagram. First, we've rolled out a number of new buying objectives since we launched DR ads on Instagram last September. And we're going to continue to roll out new features over time. For instance, after we initially launched mobile app install ads in September, we later introduced mobile app engagement ads, which allow you to deep link users directly into your mobile app. And as we mentioned earlier, we'll soon roll out the ability to promote your product catalog by bringing dynamic ads to Instagram. So double check the available solutions on Instagram the next time you create or edit a campaign. Next, and more importantly, if your goal is to drive actions on your website, whether that's learning more, generating leads, or driving sales, bidding using the website conversion objective rather than website clicks is especially important on Instagram. And that's due to the way people take action on Instagram ads. First, as we mentioned earlier, although Instagram is mobile only, we all know people shop and convert across a variety of devices. If you bid using website clicks on Instagram, we're only able to deliver your ads to people likely to click on mobile. However, by implementing the Facebook Pixel and bidding for website conversions, we're able to deliver ads to people who may convert on mobile and on other devices. We've included a handout with more information on how the website conversions objective and Facebook Pixel work together to help you reach people more likely to convert. The second reason website conversions objective is so critical has to do with user behavior on Instagram. In particular, there are two ways people can click or tap your ad on Instagram. They can either click the call to action button, which is learn more as shown here, on your ad's image. Most clicks actually occur on the call to action button, and doing so will take a user directly to your website, the app or Play Store, or deep link them directly into your app. Of course, that depends on your objective. And that's what we're showing here. Now, as we mentioned, they can also tap on your ad's photo. When they tap on your ad's photo, they're going to see an overlay, which is what we're showing here. That overlay shows your business's name and the display or the destination URL for your ad. This overlay confirms a user's intent to click off-site, and it ensures that we're driving high-quality traffic to your website, your mobile app, or the App Store. This method of clicking has important implications for bidding. While we believe the overlay ensures quality clicks and ultimately valuable conversions, this additional step means Instagram users may click through less often than those on other sites. For this reason, Instagram clicks may appear more expensive than clicks generated on Facebook or on other channels. However, we've seen that when Instagram users do click through, they're actually more likely to convert than Facebook users. And this is an especially key point for evaluating the performance of your Instagram campaigns. If you typically bid and measure based on cost per click alone, Instagram may appear more expensive than other channels. However, if you look at the value of those clicks and post-view conversions, you'll likely see Instagram is delivering significant return on media spend. And this is why we recommend website conversions and cross-device reporting so strongly. Because with website conversions, delivery of your ads is based on the value you assign to a conversion versus the cost of a click. Of course, bidding using the website conversions objective requires implementing the Facebook Pixel. Another reason why it's especially critical for Instagram campaigns rather. If you've implemented the Facebook Pixel or SDK, that's awesome. If you've bid for your objective, that's great as well. By doing those two things together, you've laid a strong foundation for getting the most performance out of Instagram. So now let's look at taking that foundation and building on it. In particular, we're going to cover maximizing your delivery and optimizing creative next.
Many advertisers have asked us for recommendations on how to maximize the number of outcomes they drive on Instagram and really how to spend their full budgets. We often speak of Instagram's passionate community, and by that we mean Instagram users are really highly engaged and growing quickly. In fact, second only to Facebook, Instagram is the largest social network worldwide. Additionally, after only Facebook and YouTube, Instagram leads all other mobile platforms in terms of time spent in the US. The comparison to Facebook's reach and time spent is an important one for performance marketers. In particular, although growing quickly, Instagram's community is about 1/4 the size of Facebook's, and that has an important implication for targeting and delivery on Instagram. In particular, expectations around reach and delivery from Facebook don't necessarily apply to Instagram. That doesn't mean you can't generate lots of outcomes on our platform. The best practices for doing so are just unique to Instagram. In fact, we are seeing many advertisers drive large number of outcomes on Instagram. With that in mind, we recently did an analysis of performance marketing campaigns that were able to drive large numbers of outcomes and spend most of their budgets. We saw those campaigns were more likely to use broad targeting, and they did so in a number of ways. First, rather than applying the same targeting they use on Facebook, advertisers who drove lots of outcomes on Instagram used broader targeting for their Instagram-only campaigns and relied on our delivery and optimization tools to find the people most likely to convert. So, if you're having trouble spending your full budget on Instagram, try broadening your targeting parameters and allowing our system to help you find the people most likely to take an action. Of course, as you get a better sense of which audiences perform best for you on Instagram, you can refine your targeting over time. Once you've identified the audiences that work best for you, you may see some differences in return on ad spend or lifetime value between Instagram, Facebook, and other channels. If you do, we recommend you take a look at characteristics like age, gender, and device type in your Instagram ads report to understand the drivers of those differences. Second, for advertisers with website conversion goals, or those using retargeting or lookalike audiences, we've seen pixel placement can also help maximize delivery and drive additional outcomes. In particular, we recommend placing the Facebook pixel along all the steps of the conversion process on your website. This has two key benefits. First, doing so can help you identify where there may be drop-off on your website. Second, and with that insight, you may consider moving the pixel event you're using for your ads delivery. In particular, using a more trafficked pixel event can help our system deliver your ads to more people and ultimately generate more outcomes from your Instagram campaigns. Although pixel placement is also important for Facebook and other partners in your media mix, it's especially key for Instagram. In particular, Instagram is mobile only, and people clicking through to your site on mobile may behave differently than those shopping on desktop. Therefore, the best conversion events for your Instagram ads may also be different. If you'd like help troubleshooting your targeting and delivery strategy, including pixel placement, your Facebook representative as well as Instagram partner or Facebook marketing partners can help. We've also been asked about the benefits of bidding for optimized delivery versus reach. By optimized delivery, we're referring to an option for how your ads will be delivered. For instance, here's a look at the delivery options available for the website conversions objective when setting up your campaign. You can optimize the delivery for conversions, impressions, link clicks, or daily unique reach. When you select delivery optimized for conversions, we'll show your ads to people more likely to convert on your website. And the same is true for optimized delivery options available for other objectives, like website clicks or mobile app installs. When you select the recommended optimized delivery option for your objective, we'll show your ads to people most likely to take the actions that matter to you. Now, many of you have asked whether bidding for impressions or daily unique reach can be used as a tactic to generate more outcomes and spend your full budget. Based on evaluating campaigns with significant delivery, our recommendation is still to take advantage of optimized delivery for your objective rather than reach. In particular, we're seeing no significant advantage in bidding for reach in performance marketing objectives. If you're looking to generate more outcomes or spend your full budget, we instead recommend either broadening your target or placing the Facebook pixel further upstream on your website.
Probably the most common question we get from advertisers is about creative. In particular, what makes good, high-performing creative on Instagram? And do I need custom creative to be successful on Instagram? When it comes to creative, we're going to cover two areas today. First, we're going to recap some creative best practices and learnings that answer those questions. And second, we're going to cover some suggestions about optimizing your ads for maximum delivery and performance on Instagram. There's no one way to inspire action on Instagram. We're seeing a real diversity in the content of performance marketing ads. Like you see here, some ads on our platform focus on lifestyle, like the examples on the left, and some focus on product, like those on the right. Regardless of the particular approach, all of the examples shown here are drawn from our case studies, meaning they've all drawn real results. Similarly, custom creative is not required for Instagram. We recently worked with Metrics Lab to compare creative originally developed for Instagram, like the Starbucks ad you can see on the left, to creative that was originally developed for Facebook, like the GMC ad on the right. They asked a group of 2,400 Instagram users to rate a series of ads shown in the Instagram feed. Some of those ads were originally developed for Instagram, while others had been originally created for Facebook. For instance, the Gatorade ad shown here was actually originally developed for Facebook, but as part of this test, we showed it on Instagram. Based on user ratings, they found no significant difference in the performance of ads developed specifically for Instagram versus those developed originally for Facebook across a number of dimensions: stated impact and intent, memory and ad recall, as well as likability and relevance. In other words, custom creative isn't a requirement for running on Instagram. If you have strong performing creative from other channels, try running it on our platform as well. Now, many of you have asked for more specific recommendations on how you can optimize ad creative on Instagram. For that reason, we looked at campaigns with strong delivery to understand attributes they had in common. We've already shared some of those learnings today around targeting, pixel placement, and bidding. And we also have some learnings on creative. In particular, we found that campaigns which generated lots of outcome on Instagram were more likely to use the video or carousel ad formats compared to standard photo ads. Additionally, we found that most clicks occur on the call to action button within Instagram ads, rather than on your ad's image. And this has an important implication. It means being deliberate about your choice of call to action is especially important on Instagram. In other words, make sure your call to action reflects your goals and will encourage people to click on mobile. To that point, we often get asked which calls to action work best. So we looked at which calls to action drive the greatest response on Instagram. Among campaigns that generate lots of outcomes, the learn more call to action was most common. Now, that isn't to say making these creative choices will result in better outcomes or stronger delivery for your campaigns. Creative remains an art, and creative decisions depend on your goals, your message, and your target audience. However, if you're looking to get the most performance out of Instagram, you can consider these tactics when you optimize your campaigns. All right, before taking your questions, let's recap the learnings we've shared today. First, build for mobile. Getting the most out of Instagram ads starts with the Facebook Pixel or SDKs. Implementing them is foundational, really, to all other best practices and will help you with things like cross-device attribution as well as bidding and delivery. Second, bid for your objective. Make sure you're taking advantage of our latest solutions. And if your goal is to drive specific actions to your website, use the website conversions objective. Third, reach the right people. To maximize delivery, start with broad targeting. Evaluate your pixel placement and continue to take advantage of optimized delivery so you can reach people most likely to convert and take action on your ads. And finally, creating for Instagram is flexible. If you have strong performing creative from Facebook, it will likely work on Instagram as well. And if you're looking to optimize further, you can always try the carousel or video ad formats, as well as the learn more call to action. As we prepare to field your questions, we wanted to quickly recap the handouts available as part of this webinar. And hopefully these handouts will actually help answer some of the questions you guys have already shared. Really, the key handout for this webinar is what we've called the webinar leave behind. It's a one-page document that has links to many of the resources we've mentioned throughout this webinar. We've organized that document by topic, making it really easy for you to navigate to the resources for things like Pixel implementation, cross-device setup, reporting, case studies, additional webinar topics, and other learnings around case studies, things like that. Additionally, we've included some handouts that focus on topics like the Facebook Pixel. We've gotten some questions about moving to the new Facebook Pixel, and those will be addressed within that handout. We've also included more information on cross-device reports and optimized delivery for website conversions. These documents are great starting points on these topics, but the links in the webinar leave behind document will really help you tackle those areas in much more detail. So please take the time to download them from the handout menu in your control panel before our session wraps today. All right, we're now going to open up for question and answer. And first of all, thank you everyone who submitted questions. We've got them organized here. We're glad you were able to get them in before we moved into the session. And now we're going to work on covering the most requested topics. So the first question we're going to cover, and Megan will take this one on, is around manual versus automatic bids. In particular, the question we got is, on Instagram, is it better to bid manually or is it better to take advantage of automatic bidding?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if your goal is to get as many conversions as possible at a very specific price or CPA, we want you to bid your target CPA. If you bid higher than that, every conversion you get from those auctions will exceed your max CPA goal. If you bid lower, you won't get all conversions that you could have gotten. So if your goal is to get as many conversions as possible, and not caring about CPA, bid infinitely high and set an infinitely high budget. If the strategy is a mix, then you should bid your true value and increase the bid until you hit your target over time.
Thanks, Megan. So the next question is an interesting one. So we focused a lot in our best practices on maximizing delivery and reaching lots of people and driving lots of outcomes. But we got actually a really great question about delivery against small audiences. So the question was, how can we improve delivery against a narrowly targeted or small audience, say like a small custom audience?
Yeah. I know custom audiences are widely leveraged across a lot of performance marketers. So if you're intentionally trying to reach a really small group of people, for instance, you might want to reach a subset of your highest value customers, you may want to bid for impression to get as much distribution as possible among that small audience. In those particular cases, your audience may not be large enough for our system to learn and optimize the delivery of your ads, but you know it's really important that they see that message. However, if you take that approach, a high quality, seed audience is really important to driving the valuable outcomes across those target audience. And in those instances, we recommend working closely with your Facebook representative or your FMP partner to develop the right targeting strategy that fits for you.
All right, Megan, we've got another question for you, which is about cost per clicks and CPMs. And so the question in particular was, in general, do you find higher or lower CPMs and CPCs when targeting the same audience on Instagram versus on Facebook?
Yeah. So Facebook doesn't report our average CPMs or CPCs, so we can't disclose that information. But as Gabe mentioned earlier in the webinar, if you're focusing on a CPC alone, Instagram may appear more expensive than other channels, and that's again due to the nature of the clickiness of the audience and people learning that behavior over time. However, if you look at the value of those clicks in a post-view conversion, you'll likely see that Instagram is delivering significant return on media spend. And that really backs into our key best practice on placing the Facebook pixel so you can understand that nuance.
All right, Megan, you're off the hook for now. We've got a question for Badi. And we've actually gotten a number of questions which we'll combine sort of into one, which is we've gotten some questions about new tools that will be coming for businesses. In particular, someone was wondering, will business profiles on Instagram be available and when? And similarly, will there be other tools for uploading, managing, and reporting from desktop?
And we are indeed testing some tools at the moment with a small number of businesses. The way you can think about it is we want to make sure that businesses have a way to manage their organic presence in a similar fashion as they're managing their advertising presence, right? So we are indeed doing some of those tests. When it comes to uploading from a desktop, the position of the company is that we are mobile first and we want to remain that way, and so it is indeed a feature that we get a lot of requests for, but at this time this probably won't be available.
All right, Megan, we've got a question that actually kind of connects to the last one you fielded around clicking, and this is a really great observation from someone who's clearly familiar with the platform and consumer behavior on the platform. And what they've noted is typically consumers on Instagram, people on Instagram, aren't really trained to sort of click images to go off-site. So much of the content within Instagram sort of stays on Instagram. And so the question for us is, how are we trying to change this behavior? Are we trying to change this behavior to help generate more clicks off-site from Instagram?
Yeah, we know that clicks are very important to performance marketers. And that was when we launched ads in September, that was an initial learning that we had within the first 8 weeks, and why we followed up quickly with the overlay to help educate our community around the process of clicking. Again, as we look at the data and understand, we are seeing that click-through rates are improving over time, and we're continuing to optimize the ad unit itself to help generate more clicks. So you can definitely see improvements and enhancements in the coming months to help aid that as well. Again, we definitely want to prioritize and have you guys focus on the value of the clicks that we're driving as well. There might be fewer, but Instagram users are much more likely to convert when they do drive off-site. So we're really driving high intent users to your website experience.
Awesome. So our next question is about testing, and this is a good one. So the question is around A/B testing, and specifically, do we have any recommendations for A/B testing in terms of showing ads to the same audiences or different audiences, turning ads or ad sets on or off? So Badi, could you share a little bit about our recommendations on A/B testing?
Absolutely. So the way you can think about it is that you want to make sure that the A/B test is kind of clean, if you will. So our recommendation is to use custom audiences here. And so if you think about it, you have, let's say, a segment of users, you have like an email database. You could actually split that database in two and come up with like 10,000 email addresses in the segment A and 10,000 email addresses in segment B. And then you can run a campaign targeting those two segments, and then change some of the creative, for example, or change the landing page, or change whatever you want to test against. And then you'll just be able to see the lift in between segment A and segment B, right? And so if, let's say, that you want to test like a different landing page or this type of things, you'll be able to see which one converts the most. If what you're interested in is actually testing the value of Instagram, you could even do that as well, and then only show ads on Instagram to segment A. You don't show anything on segment B, and you see who's coming back to your website and who's actually driving sales for you. So these are things that we recommend a lot of like performance marketers to do. It is indeed, it requires some kind of planning, and you need to think through exactly how you want to be testing and what exact KPI you want to measure against, because then your test will need to flow from that.
All right, so our next question is from Megan, and this is proof that you guys are paying attention. So Megan, you mentioned that dynamic product ads and video and carousel are coming to Instagram, and folks are wondering what the timeline is for that.
Yeah, we are very excited to have these announcements come. We're currently in beta testing for both of them. We want to make sure that we launch products that are driving the right performance, and so we don't have the exact date nailed down yet, but again, we're in active testing right now with a few partners, and we'll have announcements coming in the next few weeks.
All right, this other question is another fantastic question, and again, proof you guys are taking this content and these best practices to heart, and that's around optimization bidding. So the question is, when using optimization bidding and delivery for the website conversions objective, which we recommended, is there a minimum number of conversions needed before optimization can really kick in and work?
Yeah, and this aligns really well with the best practice of moving up your pixel event optimization if you aren't seeing the delivery. Instagram follows the same methodology that Facebook does, and the algorithm really does need about 2 days of 15 one-day click-through conversion data to start to really understand and learn where to deliver. If you find that you get less than 15 click-through conversions in a day and over the course of 48 hours, that might be an opportunity to move up your conversion events so that we can get more signals to feed the algorithm to optimize your delivery.
Awesome. Another question is around the overlay that we showed you guys, the add image tap overlay. And Megan, the question is that overlay automatic, or is it something that's optional that advertisers can opt into, turn on or off?
Yeah, great question. So currently right now the overlay is automatic. We felt because we've only actually been live with self-serve ads and the ability to click off site for 6 months, we want to make sure that every person on that platform understands the user experience. Just like we do with video ads or photo ads, a single tap reveals more information. So on the consumer side, when you single tap, you see person tags appear, or a single tap enables video on video ads. So we really feel like this is consistent experience for the community, and right now it is automatic for every ad that displays.
All right, Megan, I've got another question for you around targeting, and people are wondering if they can segment and target on Instagram based on device type. So for instance, can I target iPhone users versus Android users on Instagram?
Yeah, so this is one of the key benefits of our integration with Facebook last year and our launch of self-serve is we get to leverage all the great targeting capabilities that Facebook launched with, and you absolutely can segment by device ID in the targeting section of either Ads Manager, Power Editor, or through the API.
Awesome. And Badi, one question for you about the page post engagement objective, which isn't something we covered in today's webinar. If you want to learn more about that objective, we'd recommend checking out some of our webinar content on brand building on Instagram. But we got the question, so let's field it. And the question is, what does the page post engagement objective optimize your ad for?
Yes, and so the name might make it sound a little bit obvious, but we are optimizing for engagement, right? So people liking, commenting on your post, etc. So this is actually not an objective that we would recommend if you are a DR performance advertiser. We obviously recommend you to bid for your actual business outcome, a conversion, an app install, these type of things. But page post engagement is kind of something that started like a few years ago, and so we keep on supporting it. The way you can think about it is that the first thing will be engagement. If you want to get reach, or if what you're interested in is like a message that you want to show to your audience, we would recommend the brand awareness objective that will give you more reach or ad recall or this type of more upper funnel business outcomes.
All right, Badi, another question for you is about the mobile app install objective. Specifically, when an advertiser uses the mobile app install objective, are other app events automatically tracked and reported on, assuming, of course, that an advertiser has the SDK installed?
Yes, so the one event that you'll have by default is the app open. So if you think about it, when we measure the installs, what we're actually measuring is the first app open, because in order to track the install, we need the app to be launched at least once. And so you can think about this this way. If you have like specific app events that you want to track, specifically people buying something in your app or like coming back to your app, this type of things, you'll need to set it up. And so similar to how you can add different events to your pixel, you can do the same thing with the SDK, and obviously you have all the documentation available for you.
Cool. So we've got 2 more questions, and thanks you guys so much for submitting these during the webinar. The first question is around some changes we announced to the Instagram feed, and these are changes that we're currently testing. And so the question was, when will the new algorithm for the Instagram feed roll out, and how will those changes impact marketers?
Yes, so we indeed announced this a few months ago, and the goal was really to bring the community along and make sure that people were aware of that test. We don't have anything specific to announce at this time in terms of like exact timing and everything, but the goal is really to be testing this together with the community and make sure that we bring them along on that journey.
I think the important thing to know about any changes to the Instagram feed are that these things are still testing, and we don't anticipate any impact on ads delivery. So the final question we'll take on is around the 20%, the famous Facebook 20% text rule. And in particular, one of the questions, or the question around that is, some people are aware that Facebook is testing, making some changes to the 20% text rule. When will those be impacted on Instagram as well? So are there any implications on any changes to the 20% rule on Facebook to those on Instagram? And just to recap, the 20% text rule refers to the fact that Facebook does not currently allow ad images that contain more than 20% text. So no more than 20% of the real estate of your ad image can contain text on Facebook.
Yep, that's a great question. So the goal with Instagram and Facebook, we work really closely together and want to make this as easy as possible for advertisers to advertise across both channels. And with that in mind, we're going to collaborate closely on this rule change. That being said, if Facebook makes a change in terms of creative, Instagram will most likely follow suit to make sure that you can run both ads across both platforms seamlessly. The rule is, again, to optimize for efficiency and make it so as easy as possible to get up and running. We don't want to have you guys have to be able to create specific creative for Facebook and specific creative for Instagram. Like Gabe mentioned earlier in the creative section, we're seeing a variety of approaches work. Some advertisers use the same images across both, and some have the resources and capabilities to create distinct ones, but we don't want having distinct creative to be a requirement. So we will definitely align with how Facebook evolves.
Cool. So we've got one last question which Badi is going to take, which is around the conversion pixel. And we'll field this last question because we have so much passion around the Facebook pixel. The question in particular is, my business is still using the old Facebook conversion pixel. How can I transition all my campaigns to the new pixel, and are there best practices I should be aware of for switching to the new pixel? And before Badi fields this question, I'm just going to give a plug for the handouts associated with the webinar. So in the webinar Leave Behind document, there are links to more information on the Facebook pixel. Everything you could want to know about implementation, best practices for converting, anything and everything you'd want to know about the pixel is covered in the links there. We've also included another handout document specifically on the Facebook pixel and this change. And so if you want to learn about the change and how to take advantage of the new pixel, we'd encourage you to go through that as well. But let's have Badi field that question so we can address it with everyone.
And so this ties a little bit to what Megan told you earlier around how long does the pixel need and what type of data the pixel needs to really be able to optimize in a good fashion. So the way you can think about it is that if you have the old pixel, it can work together with the new pixel, right? So you should definitely have the unified Facebook pixel on your website. But if you have ongoing campaigns, we would recommend to keep using the old pixel for your optimization until the new Facebook pixel can learn. And as Megan was telling you, like a couple of days with sufficient events in order for the pixel to be able to learn would be kind of our recommendation. And so you can definitely run them side by side. And then switch at some point after, let's say, 2-3 days where you see that the volume is enough. You can then switch the campaign to optimize towards the Facebook pixel. So that's kind of how you can think about it. And obviously the details of the how-to and the details of the implementation itself can be found in the handouts.
All right, well, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us, for asking all those great questions. We hope on your way out you'll take a few moments to fill out our survey. It's just a couple of questions. It is short and painless, and we promise it really does help us improve this content and make sure we're bringing you guys the best possible webinars. Also take advantage of Facebook Blueprint for more webinars and other e-learning topics. And of course, you can tune into upcoming webinars. We've got links to both Blueprint and the upcoming webinars in the handouts for this session. So definitely download those. And thank you so much. We really appreciate all the time you've spent with us today. Thanks.